Hey, sports fans! Coach Nick here, and welcome to the B-Ball Breakdown live show Sunday morning, also on Green Room, the Green Room app, which I hope everybody over there can hear me okay. I think this is going to work where I got it all set up and people can actually call in and they can hear you perfectly on the Green Room app. We can hear you perfectly on YouTube. You can hear me perfectly on YouTube. So I'm really excited to think I figured this whole thing out. The solution was using the iPad, not the iPhone. If I look like my mic is working, it looks like on the if you want, everyone wants to let me know on the Green Room app if my mic, if I just tapped it, if you heard that, let me know. But we also have a lot of comments coming on here. If you want to join the show and you're on the YouTube side, just put the Green Room Spotify app on your phone or your iPad. Find my show on the NBA side and join and request. And if you're already on the Green Room app and you want to come on the show, just hit that request button. I bring everybody in all at the same time. I might need to get a longer cord so I could kind of hold this and see it better and see any kind of comments on the Green Room side. But we'll get to those comments too. Also, let me fire up any kind of comments we might have over on the YouTube side as well. So we also have the super chat on the YouTube side. If you want to catch my attention right away, that's the best way to do that and get a nice little shout out. So let me pop out the chat over here on the YouTube side. Can we get an oof in this chat? Let me get it over here so I can see it better. But if you want to join the Green Room chat or get in the show, I believe if you see the link in the description, you'll see the link to the Green Room. That should take you right to the show, I hope. And otherwise, somehow find it. What is happening, everybody? Suns in 7, Raul thinks. Certainly that is possible. I think this is probably going to go 7, but then again, the way the Suns have been playing on the road, I'm not so sure that they're going to be able to hold on. And I just felt like after game 4, I wasn't so sure their psyche was in the proper space. So, of course, when they open up in game 1, on a huge run, you thought, oh, okay, they solved some things, they fixed some issues, Devin Booker was going off, and they had a big lead. I had tweeted this out, though, because there was some math involved. Let me grab that tweet real quick. Basically, after taking a 37-21 lead at the end of the first quarter, the Suns promptly got outscored by the Bucks 87-57 over the next 28 minutes. That's complete and utter domination. To outscore another team by 30 points in only 28 minutes, that's, even though they got close at the end, you can't ignore that that's a huge stretch. And by the way, they're also to the point where they are, they've won 3 in a row now, right, to take a 3-2 lead. So this is like a dominant stretch here for the Bucks, and I don't think that there's a lot coming back as far as the Suns are concerned. And so even though they came out hot and played well, it completely disappeared on them in the second and third quarters. Now, Giannis did nicely there, but it was really led by Chris Middleton and Jrue Holiday. And Jrue Holiday had to have had the biggest turnaround from Game 4 to Game 5 than we've ever seen in the NBA Finals. He was that bad in Game 4 and that good in Game 5. Easily the biggest turnaround I think I've ever seen anybody from one game to the next. Okay, we have a request to come on the show. Let's see how this works. I'm really excited to make sure this works. So we're going to bring Raj in here. Raj, how you doing?
Hey, Coach Nick, how are you?
I'm good. Let me just say something else. I want to make sure the levels are working so the YouTube crowd can hear you.
Hey, guys.
Nice.
I don't know what else to say.
I think you sound good to me, and the levels look good. I think everyone on YouTube should be excited, too. You don't understand. I've been trying for months to make this thing work, and I think I finally solved it. So what's happening, Raj?
I'm good. This is the first time I actually tried Green Room. I was trying to message you. I was on YouTube for the longest time, but I didn't like how you were putting the phone, and we couldn't hear too much. But now it sounds good on YouTube, too.
Oh, it does? Oh, but, thank goodness. All right, great.
So the one question I had to ask was, it was kind of surprising to me. The first time that the Bucks actually tried doing this in Game 5, they were trying to force mismatches from CP3 on Jrue and Chris Middleton in the fourth quarter. Mm-hmm. I thought that was I didn't think they did it too much, but every time they did it, I thought that they actually got high-quality shots from it. What do you think happened in the fourth quarter in terms of that?
I'm sorry, so we're talking about the Suns' offense and getting CP3 going?
Oh, no. I'm sorry. Chris Middleton and Jrue trying to attack CP3 in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, that was weird. So the video I'm preparing right now that I'm going to get done as soon as I finish the show, I'm going to focus a bit on Connaughton because they were also targeting him probably more than anybody else on the defensive end. And I thought he was awesome, but he got scored on a few times, like maybe more than a few times. And I would have to imagine that the Bucks were like, that's fine. They can have those. Now, as far as CP3 targeting Middleton and Jrue down the stretch, is that what you were asking about?
No. I was saying like CP3 and Middleton were attacking Chris Paul on offense. Like they were scoring on him.
Sorry. So now on the other side. All right. Sorry. I'm so knee deep in this video. My mind is completely turned.
Sounds good.
But so Chris Paul for sure. So he's got these torn ligaments in his hand. I missed this report from like the beginning of July or whatever in the conference finals. So you have to be wary of him sort of maybe like worried about using his hand as part of the defensive thing if he's got some torn ligaments there. And that was what they took advantage of. But Chris Paul was just off. Now, I know he had some points down the stretch, which was good to see because, again, if he ends up playing as poorly as he had in his finals, I just, his legacy, it's really, I don't even want to think about it. But like there were times when he like didn't even get around a screen properly when he's like the progenitor. He is the gold standard for how you use your footwork to get around screens really well. And he couldn't even do that. So it's like, what is happening here? What is wrong? There's something so fundamentally wrong with the way he's playing and moving. There was like, okay, they made a big deal. He didn't have any turnovers in the first half, or maybe not in the game. But like, he threw so many passes off target that maybe not were turnovers, but like were just like, one of them was a Torrey Craig wide open three that he missed because he had to like reach over to grab it and shoot it. The other one was a turnover on Bridges that he threw to Bridges in the right corner, and he had to like jump and then throw it away. So it's like some of those things don't show up in the box score, but it was like I just can't explain in any kind of clear way what is happening with Chris Paul. The movement pattern is off. So I guess the point being is, yes, they better go at him, and he's already smaller anyway. If it's Middleton for sure, so like they're going to be able to get that a good advantage, a good shot over him. So yes, that's the way to go, and they're going to keep doing that without question.
And then one more thing on Connaughton. This is going to be really quick, so other people can talk. But I think them focusing so much on attacking Pat is kind of taken away from what made them so successful during the year. Mm-hmm. In terms of like ball movement and all that kind of stuff. I think you like. I don't know if you're gonna put that in the video, but I think a lot of what they're doing right now is kind of taken away from everyone else.
I'm going to do it now. So the great call, Matt, for sure. And that's always the thing. Like whenever you see teams like trying to get smart and they're like, we're going to post up our guard because we have a size advantage. And meanwhile, you realize they don't ever really post up that guard. So suddenly they're doing some radically different things in their offense. I do have a problem, and I was worried about the CP3 thing because earlier in the series as well, like they would do these ISOs, and he was working so hard to get those shots off that we've seen him with the hamstring issues and kind of break down that way. And so that could very well be part of it as well. So I agree. The best parts of the Suns' offense, and there's so many of them, they run so many great sets, are getting lost. And Booker is not getting. Remember that Booker three he hits clutch with a minute to go going to the right? Like it was a really almost impossible shot. On the right wing for a three that like lead to three or whatever. But the key with that was they started him on the left block and they wrapped him around a pin down into a handoff. That is the play that they need to be running, not any of this like ISO stuff where he got into trouble, even against Connaughton. And so it's mind-boggling that they're letting them do that. And that's a Monty thing. That's a Chris Paul thing. Someone on the court has to be able to say, no, get into these sets. We're going to run some much better offense and get better shots. Because if they don't, then the series is going to be over.
Sounds good. Thanks so much, Coach.
You got it, Raj. Thanks. And anybody else who wants to come on the show, come on in. Hit that request button. We got a bunch of people over here on the Green Room app. I can't tell you how excited I am to be able to finally simulcast to YouTube, to Green Room, the best of both worlds. So this is exciting. So anybody else wants to come on and chop it up like that, please do request, and I'll bring you in. I bring everybody in at the same time, and the same side on the YouTube side. So now, if you're on the YouTube side and you want to come on the show, you can. I do it with the Hot Mic app. We'll do it with the Green Room. Link in the description. So let's talk a little bit about, I guess, what the video is going to be then, because that's what's on my mind. So I'm focusing right now on, so the Connaughton, I grabbed a bunch of maybe 10 or 11 clips. I might not use all of them. Oh, we got another request. Let me just finish this point. And so, the whole point about, like, especially why defensive stats suck is that you're going to see Connaughton play like, as good a defense as anybody could. And Booker still hit a few of those shots. And I have a feeling that, Budenholzer is saying to himself, that's totally fine. It's not sustainable. It's what I said in the last video. And ultimately, it wasn't down the stretch. I know he hit the 1-3, but he also missed a couple other key shots when they needed them in the fourth quarter. And that's all part of the wearing them down, which is also part of when they're picking up Chris Paul full court. And this could have been the thing. I'm kind of wondering if this is the genius of Mike Budenholzer was they said, Jrue, you're going to pick him up, and Middleton and whoever else is going to pick Chris Paul up in the backcourt, and you're just going to slowly wear him down. It might not happen in game 1. It might not happen in game 2. We might see a good fourth quarter in game 3, but by the game 5, we're going to see him tired and worn out. And you know what? That's as good an explanation as anything else. I mean, I was even musing, is it COVID? Is it a long haul COVID effects? By the way, we got to talk about Giannis and Giannis's brother, but we'll get to that in a second. Let me get let's get some people in here. We got Martin, and we got who else is here? Akil. Hey, Akil, good to see you. And Don, we got a Pistons fan. That's a rare sighting for our show. So welcome everybody.
You got 2 Pistons fans.
Oh, forgive me. But you don't have it like in your name of your darn,
Exactly. Yeah, I'm not as diehard as Don.
That's my last name. So like, I have to.
Nice. Well, let's talk, man. Who wants to go? Who wants to throw some stuff out there?
I just want to say I'm glad that you pointed out that Chris was like getting worn down by Jrue, and I also think that like people want to point at, oh, maybe he's hurt or something, but he's just old. He's 36, 35 years old. It's gonna happen. Okay. I mean, I think we've seen it last year in the OKC first round. Like in those fourth quarters, he was never as good as he was in the first 3 because his legs were getting tired. He's just too old. He just can't take it no more.
Yeah, but how do you explain him? He nailed some shots in the fourth quarter and looked really good.
He did. He still hit them, but like, it just doesn't. He doesn't look like Chris Paul to me in the stretches of games in these past few games. I think he's just too old.
Yeah, well, it's weird because you are absolutely right.
Done a phenomenal job.
Does not look like himself. Now here's the thing, because in the fourth quarter of last night's game, he was 4 for 4, 2 for 2 from 3 with 3 assists. Like that's as good as he's going to play. But
and a dirty ass Giannis Antetokounmpo push as well.
Okay, we'll get to that. I mean, listen, he's old, so he couldn't get there quickly enough to really give him a push, right? Because that's why. Had he really gotten there and gotten the push, yes, then we really would have seen a nightmare scenario, because that would have definitely hurt Giannis.
Yeah, that's fair. Something I wanted to bring up was the insane shot-making stretch. I think it was third quarter-ish between Devin Booker and Chris Middleton.
Yeah.
Where they were just matching bucket for bucket for bucket. And it's one of the things that I've always said about Chris. And Don, we traded him away for Brandon Jennings, by the way. Shouts to that. God.
Wow. Wait a minute. So Middleton was on the Pistons first, right?
Yeah, we traded him away for Brandon Jennings. That we did.
Wow. That's a bad trade. That was a bad trade even back then.
Yeah, you're telling us.
Yeah.
But he's Chris Middleton. I've said this for a while. He's, as far as tough shot makers go, like he's one of the toughest shot makers in the NBA. Like he is very much up there. His length, he just shoots over the top of dudes, and he's like the perfect complement to everything that Giannis is offensively.
Right. The only problem with him is so he goes 1 for 7, right, in the first quarter, and he looks not good at all. And then all of a sudden, it's just remarkable how he just turns it on and just can completely become unstoppable. And I was looking at the stretch in the second and third quarters for both Jrue and Chris to figure out if there was any patterns. Kind of like a nice variation of all their offensive stuff. A little bit of like a lot of the pick and roll stuff they used mostly, but they also got into some horn stuff. So that was interesting to see. Like I was wondering if they just went to the same thing over and over again. Although I do have a cool thing where I'm going to show Chris Middleton uses a pick and roll to the right side and pulls up on Ayton for a mid-range. And by the way, the mid-range is so big in this series and so big in the playoffs this year. I'm going to do a big video on it. And then Jrue Holiday runs the same exact play with him as the ball handler, and he hits the same exact shot right after that in a way that they're that they were taking advantage of that, which is interesting because again the Suns are like, please take a shot over Ayton contest from 17 feet, going to your right, twisting in the air. We'll let you have that, and they nailed them. So that's the difference sometimes in a make or miss league.
It was crazy because that's all like considered like by NBA defenses. Good defenses, right? Like you're forcing tough, really long contested twos, but it's kind of where those dudes live. Like they love those shots, right? Devin Booker loves those tough mid-range shots. Same thing with Chris. So it's like kind of a weird scenario of where you're giving up the shots that most NBA defenses are designed to give up, but those players that are taking them really love to take them and make them. So it's kind of a weird juxtaposition.
I know. And by the way, people want to yell at me or say that I'm giving too many excuses for CP. Listen, as far as I'm concerned, the guy has built up such a body of work over all these years that, like, he deserves to at least be judged by like what you would expect for him to be. And if he's and all of a sudden, not having that is, you got to figure something is up. But I think, I think maybe what I want to give credit to mostly has to probably be the backcourt pressure. It's crazy. But sorry, just to hijack that for a second. But let me get to this real quick.
You know what?
Hang on for 1 second.
Okay.
White Card Guillermo on the YouTube side just gave a super chat. So thank you so much for being so generous. And Devin's ISO slowdowns. Oh, Devin's ISOs slow the game down and play in the Bucks' favor. That's really interesting. I probably agree. I think Devin is much better coming off of screens, and anybody is, right? If you get some separation using your team to help you get shots, you're always better than just an ISO. So I agree. Like we had said earlier, some of those shots that he was making are kind of fool's gold, and I'm sure the difference there is that, the Middleton is hitting a midi from 15 or 16 off the dribble, and so is Jrue versus like a 10 dribble ISO that doesn't have any space for Booker. The pound for pound, it's a much more difficult shot, and the Bucks were able to overcome that. So, yeah, go ahead. Who was next?
I think, like, Chris, especially in... Can you hear me all right?
I hear you perfectly. Beautiful.
Yeah, I think Chris is one of the best examples of how... I don't want to necessarily say cutthroat NBA fan bases can be with star players, because his inconsistency can foster so much hate from the fans there. But when he's really on, it's unbelievable the praise that he gets. And I just think it's so interesting that the Bucks have come so far in this postseason, and this is sort of one of the first times since at least the Heat series that all three of their big three has sort of fired on all cylinders and clicked together this well at the same time.
Yeah, great call. You're right. They all were doing it last night for the first time, and that makes them really tough. I mean, that explains how they went from down, 32 to 16, and then to up by 13, 14 and controlled the game. Because remember, even though it got close at the end, that huge lead they built ended up being key, right? Because they had a huge cushion, they could afford to kind of, crap the bed a little bit down the stretch. But that was also some shot making by Phoenix to get them back in that game. And at least we got a game. Go ahead.
I also think it's an interesting point. I can't remember who said it, where they said that it's just Chris Paul's age that's sort of taking him out of the game. But I think it's probably his hand, yeah. But also just like 6 or 7 game series with Jrue carrying you up, like defending you up the court back and forth the whole time is an exhausting experience. Like Chris looks out of sorts just because of that alone, and I think it's a culmination of those three things. And love Chris Paul or hate him, you got to admit that a culmination of those three things has to be slowing him down.
I agree. I mean, listen, you have to find something. There has to be a reason, right? And I think that's what my point was. The guys played so well for so long across so many games that there has to be a reason. It's not an excuse. There has to be a reason, and certainly that has to be one of them. So whoever sat down to say, what, we're going to pick him up in the backcourt and because it's not like they're getting steals, right? But he struggles a little bit. He's got to turn his back. He's got to spin. He's got, you know what I mean? There's a couple of times where he even looked really funky, just kind of getting around, and something is just off. Now, granted, if his hand is killing him, for sure, that'd be an energy suck and make him tired too. So all those things are factored in, and only because I just think he deserves at least mention the fact that he was the gold standard for point guard play for so long that we need to acknowledge that as we're saying. And by the way, no one is not saying he's playing like crap. I mean, he is, except for that fourth quarter where he did really, really well. He's been the worst I've seen him play in the finals. So
I feel like his box scores in the past couple of games have been deceptive. Like it says he has 20 points, but it didn't feel like that until at least the fourth quarter. And I've also found it weird how little attention his hand injury has gotten. I feel like most people I talk to don't actually know.
I had no idea until someone sent me the link last night. I don't know. I guess you know what happened. I think he announced it right after they won Game 6 against the Clippers, and it must have been in between series, and it was a dead time. I didn't know. I didn't even notice it. So again, that's tough, and it just isn't. That is what you'd say is par for the course for Chris Paul. Getting some sort of serious injury in the middle of the playoffs that really hurt him. It's just a snake bite.
But coach, what happened in the first 2 games though? If he got the injury in Game 6, and then the first 2 games he plays great, and then now he's not.
That's a great point too.
I don't think the hand injury is. I don't know if it's an injury. So you said you got sent a link. What is it? It showed like when he injured his hand, or
he said he acknowledged it in the post-game press conference after Game 6, after they won the Eastern Conference Finals.
Okay,
but, they did an MRI.
I hadn't thought about that. How well he played the first 2 games. So maybe he just aggravated it in Game 3 or something like that.
I think it's his age.
Oh yeah, that's true. In Game 3, we saw him on the bench, and they were attending to. Remember, they had a towel up, and they were attending to him on probably the hand. That might be it. That might be part of it.
Yeah, I think there was a play where he went for a rebound or something. I think his hand.
That's right. So that could happen too. I want to make it clear we're not like in here to give everybody excuses or whatever. But again, for a guy like that, it's like when I coach. Let me give you a quick example. When I coach like at the high school level, if there's a player on my team who gets like straight A's, is on time for practice all season long, and then all of a sudden, like at the last week of the season, he shows up like 20 minutes late to practice, whatever. I'm probably going to give him the benefit of the doubt. If I have another player who is constantly late, always not listening, doesn't play hard, all that kind of stuff, then there might be more consequences for someone who then shows up 20 minutes late for that last practice. You know what I mean? So there's a lot of equity I feel like gets built up based on how you play, and that for me, that's what I'm giving Chris Paul. That's all. But yeah, there was an issue I think with the hand. So I think it's a factor of a combination of things: his age, the wearing him down, and the pressure, the hand. Mentally, there were some mental issues going on in Game 4 for sure. Those all contribute, and here we are. So we're not going to probably get the best of Chris Paul, but it's now on the Suns to figure out, well, how can we, because by the way, I tweeted out around in the beginning of the fourth quarter where I was like, they're going to take him out. I thought he was that bad by the beginning of the fourth quarter that they just let Cam Payne get in there and do his thing. We saw magic from him in the series before when Chris Paul was out. I don't see why maybe they could try and recreate that. That said, of course, Chris Paul detonates.
What do you see the reason for his foul on the game-winning dunk on Giannis being? Like, what could his thought process have possibly been there?
Oh, I mean, he was probably trying to break it up before he makes it, right? Like that was what he was trying to do.
He was trying to get the foul before he even could get.
And it was just a mistake. It was a mistake because he never would have been able to get there, anyway.
And didn't he do the same thing like 2 plays before, like on the same type of foul? He like pushed him in the air.
Oh, I don't know. I don't remember that. Give me the timestamp and I'll check it.
Maybe.
Because I have it called up. I could grab it quickly and check it out. But do you remember when? Tell me when. What time? How much time on the clock? And I'll look at it real quick. But either way, it was not a smart play, but it was also so bang bang that he was going to try and make it. And let's just say he was fortunate that he kind of missed, right? He didn't quite get a full, he was in such a hurry or whatever, he couldn't quite get over there fast enough. Had he gotten the full force of what it looked like he intended, yes, I think Giannis could slip off of the rim on that one, and who knows how he'd land. That would have been terrible. But let's talk a little bit about the fact that Giannis is so exhausted in these games early on. So they even mentioned it in the broadcast that he looked exhausted in the second quarter after playing about 18 minutes. That is really strange for someone like that at that juncture. Do you guys know where I'm thinking here, where I'm going with this?
Yeah. I mean, he always... I mean, he's sort of, funnily enough, been talking about needing to go take a leak or a tinkle, as he says it, the past 2 games. But yeah, he's just been like uncharacteristically puffed out, and then he gets all of this energy in the second half of the game, and I don't know what that pattern is. That's really odd.
Although I felt like he looked pretty exhausted too for stretches in the second half as well. But yeah, now the tinkle one, as far as I could tell, was just for the one game. but it had been 2 games in a row.
He said it was both.
He did? Okay. I don't buy that. I don't buy that, like, you have to go to the bathroom so badly that you have to go 3 minutes into the game. I don't buy it. I'm sorry. Not that it's like some conspiracy or whatever, but it's weird. And he looks tired, But by the way, we have to go check if he actually left the bench that first time in game 2. I'm a little weird. But anyway,
I know he's been cramping. I know that, and so is Chris Middleton.
Okay, so that could be it. Now, by the way, the elephant in the room is that his brother just got COVID. So I think what this is telling me is, like, we saw Jrue Holiday coming off the bench and he was wearing a mask, right? So some of these guys are still wearing masks. It has to mean that they haven't gotten vaccinated, right? Which is, listen, anybody's allowed to do whatever they want to do, but, like, if you're going to play in the NBA in the finals, like, and you're not going to get vaccinated, that risk is so great that you're going to get it because you're traveling and you're in front of all these different people, that it kind of boggles my mind. And then ultimately, these guys are as close as can be.
Jrue has.
Do you think Jrue got the vaccine?
Yeah, because he had it for that stretch. He's had COVID for that stretch.
Okay, so he should be
in the middle
immune
of the
anyway.
season.
Well, that's true too.
Yeah.
So that's weird. It's weird that he'd be wearing the mask, but maybe they're just still mandating it. But it doesn't seem like it's consistent. But anyway, the point being that Giannis and his brother, it appeared to me to be as close as brothers could possibly be. And so the idea that one of them would have gotten the vaccine, Giannis, and the other one didn't, seems strange. And then the fact that one of them would get it and the other one doesn't seems strange. And then the fact that Giannis is completely exhausted, like in the second quarter, is also strange. We could talk about the JFK assassination too. I'm kind of a conspiracy expert on that one.
You think Giannis secretly has coronavirus?
Well, here's the real interesting question: do you think that they wouldn't let him So let's go through that scenario. They obviously tested him, right? Because they tested, I think Josh Oppenheimer, who's an assistant coach. He has him on the bench for 3 games. I think that's also related. So you think that they would test Giannis? It comes back positive, and they kind of whisper, "Hey, he's positive, but he can't miss these games, so we're going to have to just lie about that and not." So you think it's like
a LeBron situation?
What's the LeBron situation?
Well, where he like partied the day before, or had there was an event the day before the playing game, with a whole bunch of people.
Give a warning.
And then they didn't really, I guess.
They didn't suspend him.
They didn't put him in the protocols. No, you're right. He should have missed games. Right, and they had an interesting excuse where it was outside and whatever. Because I don't think LeBron's vaccinated, right? Isn't that the whole thing?
Well, he said even if he got it, he's not going to reveal that. It's a personal decision.
So no.
Yeah, that's probably no.
Interesting.
Nonetheless, it's weird.
I was gonna say if it's because it's people don't realize how much it fucks you up, just like your whole body. It's not just like a cough. But then I'm also thinking
wait, are you talking about the vaccine or the COVID itself?
The COVID itself.
Okay.
I'm thinking if you consider the severity of some of the shit that happens to that man's body, he can probably just handle it, man. He's not even human at this point. That hyperextension is a season-ending injury for so many other people. And
I know. I still can't believe that. That's like the basketball gods coming down from the heavens and touching his knee. I don't know.
But it's a hyperextension with no ligament damage. So
right.
It's just a pain tolerance thing. There's probably going to be some swelling. It's just pain at that point. If there's no ligament damage, then you're.
But how is there no ligament damage?
And that's the thing, right? That's the thing.
My mate, who I'm
tolerance thing, there's probably going to be some swelling. It's just pain at that point.
Okay, interesting.
It's apparently because his leg didn't twist. Usually you get ligament tears if your leg twists, but if you look at his leg, just bent directly straight, and that's why they weren't damaged. If it had have gone sideways in any way, that would have been it. So it was luck, and it was him being a freak of nature.
Call.
Really,
good point. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
so yeah.
What do you think? Real quick, what do you think about the coincidence LeBron was on the sidelines at the game, and I think Giannis did his. In my opinion, I think he did his best LeBron impression with the way he was passing to guys in getting dudes open and stuff like that. I think particularly in the first half.
So what do I think about his passing?
Yeah.
You know, I got to go back and through because someone said that too in Twitter, and for some reason, watching it live, it wasn't like completely standing out to me, like, you know, the passing wise. But like anything in particular that like struck you, like, oh, that was an amazing pass. Like, what was it?
Not like amazing. It was just a sense of like him controlling the game. Yeah, like he was. It kind of just reminded me of LeBron. He just dribble it down top of the key, and he would draw one, kick it to the corner, like, and they were making the shot. So maybe that's the reason why in the past they weren't really making as many shots.
Right.
But now Connaughton is making all his corner threes.
Giannis is a really underrated playmaker. Like his passing and facilitating is actually
there were moments in last night's game where he literally looked like a 7-foot point guard.
Yeah, now I'm seeing it. Okay, and now I'm remembering, by the way, there was some helping one pass away stuff on both sides that was driving me batty. And so the first one was to Connaughton in the left corner. But here's the point about that, because, you know, it's Giannis, we have to stop him. But like when you're looking at these plays and you see, you know, Ayton is in good position, like there isn't any need to help, and they're helping. Like, you know, and so that's the thing. But, you know, either way, if you're in the corner and the ball, you know, and Giannis is driving down the left lane line, it's hard to see like whether or not your teammate Ayton is in position or not. So that's kind of why you need to have this defensive principles, and you just simply do not help there unless it's a terrible shooter. But Connaughton obviously he's made the second most threes in the series. I'm actually looking at right now the next one. So yeah, okay, he did it again on the break. So yeah, a couple of these. The first two were. So the first assist was to Connaughton in the left corner. The second one in transition in the right corner, which is like, you know, a nice easy pass because they had numbers. And then let's see here in the midway through the second quarter. Oh, again, transition kick to the corner three. Yeah, controlling the game, making the right decisions, hitting them accurately. Which, by the way, the other thing that was annoying about CP3 was he's usually one of the most accurate passers, and that's underrated skill. Like where a guy who's going to catch and shoot doesn't have to move at all. You know, that's when you see Giannis getting better at this too, where he's making passes where the guy's right in their pocket, they don't have to move at all, they can catch and shoot in nice and perfect rhythm. So that's great to see. He got another one. Let's see here. I'm just thinking, what was his fourth assist? A drive. Oh yeah, this was a nice one to Middleton. Now Middleton does all the work, okay, but you know, Giannis did kick it out, make the right decision. So that's great to see on that end. Let's see. We have some more people want to come in. Oh, I missed a speaker request. Sorry. If you want to come back in, just request to speak, and I'll bring you in.
Yeah, Coach. And what I was saying about the Bucks players, like this is probably one of the best games all their three have played. Mm-hmm. And when they play at that level, I mean, they're all two-way players. And at certain moments, they look elite at each position. So it's like they're supposed to win in a sense, right? Because if you compare Booker, Chris Paul, and Ayton's points and stats and stuff compared to Middleton, Giannis, and Holiday, like they're giving you, they're either canceling each other out or giving you a little bit more, and plus on the defensive side they're still giving you something other than compared to the Suns.
Well, I had a text exchange with a buddy real quick about that, who's better, and it was like, to me, I thought the Suns were better because you get beyond like the fourth, fifth, and sixth players, and those are better. And then on the top, you know, Giannis obviously is playing better than anybody else in the Suns, is it pretty much. But you know, you got Booker, Ayton, and CP3, and then because you're getting to like, here comes the shade on Jeff Teague again. But like, you know, they're playing Jeff Teague 8, 9, 10, 11 minutes. You know, and they're not really playing anybody else. Connaughton is Connaughton really better than like Cam Johnson and those guys? Like, I guess he is. You know, his impact is certainly better.
He's surprisingly a really good rebounder.
Oh, so I'm going to point that out.
The past 3 games, he's been getting rebounds, and he keeps it high.
Wait, are we talking about Connaughton?
Like, he's vertical. Yeah. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, Connaughton, he keeps the ball high, and they can't snatch it out, like hit it loose. Like, he's really getting those rebounds, and they're really big possessions.
One huge play that he made that is not in the box score at all is Torrey Craig had gotten the rebound, and he knocked it out of his hands right when he caught it. That was huge. I believe it was in the fourth quarter down the stretch where, like, you know, the Suns get that rebound, get another shot, and they score. All of a sudden, the game changes, and he was right there. He's got that knack for being in the right place at the right time. So that was also huge for him. So he really has been the key, which is why I'm going to open up with him. Just even the defensive stuff. How many threes did he make? Let's see. He ended up 4 for 6. Yeah. So he was huge. I mean, he had a plus 10, which was second highest to Holiday's plus 14, which makes sense. Again, plus minus is always really kind of noisy because like Cam Johnson, for instance, you look at him, he was negative 19, and I don't think he played that poorly. He just got into a weird stretch during that second and third quarters when they were killing when the Bucks were killing
Bucks
the
went
Suns.
crazy.
Yeah.
Well, also, that's the thing that I hate about plus minus because like it's a context.
Giannis had a nugget of plus minus last night.
Yeah, it's like
Oh, he did. Wait.
Yeah, he was
hilarious.
minus.
Yeah.
And that's just because he was down. They were down 16 when he came out the game in the first quarter.
Right.
Yeah.
Went crazy.
Now, Coach, you mentioned this earlier, and it's just an eye test sort of thing I want to bring up. Is that with the turnaround in Jrue's quality of game, like from this game and the last one, as a Bucks fan, it's so quick that that Chris or Jrue are going to have a good game. Just like with the first couple of plays they make, you can tell that they're on. And like if they both come out bricking, it's like they generally stay like that for the rest of the game, or they turn it up in the second half. But they never have.
But yeah,
like,
except for Middleton, right? He was 1 for 7.
Yeah. But like if you looked at Jrue, as soon as I saw Jrue swishing as beautifully as he was at the start of the game, I was like, this is going to be his redemption game.
It was. I mean, again, like we said, I have never seen a player go from so bad to so good in one game.
Yeah, Coach, you're killing him. I told you.
I know. Well, maybe that's what he needed to hear. I don't know because how well. I mean, he was. I mean, again, here's the big question, the $1 million question, because obviously without that kind of production, this Bucks probably can't control that game and win a game. So is he going to do something like that again in Game 6 at home?
He may not have to. He may have to get. He can do something under that, and I think they could still win if the bench players play better at home. So
he may not.
He may not have to, but as long as he's aggressive, that's all that matters. In those games where he was 4 for 20 and stuff like that, he was still being aggressive and hunting those shots, in which that's what you want.
Well, but remember, in the Game 2 video I did, we showed him being like the ultra aggressive, and that was not working at all.
But those were shots like where, he was a little out of control. These ones seemed a little bit more makeable. He was actually like letting the game come to him a little bit more.
Well, and that the key stat is the 13 assists, because that was what he was missing in the Game 2. There were so many times he had wide open shots for teammates that he would normally just make. Like that's the other thing. Like we talk about CP3 and his normal play, whatever. Well, that was the same with Holiday, and that was why I was like, this is the wrong approach. Don't tell Holiday like, oh, you got to really be aggressive and get your shot off as much as you can. He needs to just play right and be in the moment, find the right play where it is, and then all of a sudden you're going to get a 27-point, 13-assist game. The funny thing is, it's like, so obviously Giannis gets the Finals MVP, right? I mean, I think it's just preordained. But there is the notion that, because I had said Middleton probably needed to, and when I say Middleton needed to win it after Game 4, it's hyperbole in the sense that we know that Giannis is going to win the Finals MVP. It's not even, a question. But we need to have more hype on these guys. We need to make sure that Middleton is getting his due. So I'll say things like that just to kind of move the needle a little bit. By the way, friends of the breakdown, both Spencer Dinwiddie and CJ McCollum on Twitter last night were saying, hey, he definitely needs to get consideration. Middleton does for Finals MVP. So we're on the same wavelength in a way.
I saw that CJ tweet.
I'm out on that, man. It's the fucking Kobe MJ bullshit where it's like the whole idea of dudes have to look like the.
So wait, so who would you advocate for?
It's Giannis. Like it's simply Giannis.
I agree.
And I get it.
I have a question for you.
I get it. It's Chris makes shots. Like it's cool and all, but like
it's
just not.
It's cool and all. Okay, I mean, geez.
Like they're not even in the position that they are right now without Giannis, right? Like I feel like it all just comes back to him being that guy.
Yeah, I mean, here's my problem. It's the clutch stuff that becomes problematic too. And last night was for another example. So Giannis, instead of grabbing the offensive rebound after he misses his free throw, tips it back very smartly because he knew they were going to foul him and he was going to have to shoot another couple free throws and probably brick those as well.
Middleton.
Here's one they missed, by the way. I haven't posted this on Twitter yet, but that second free throw that he misses, that they get the rebound on, what's his face? Ayton had a step into the lane like way before he shot it. Half his body was in the lane too. You think that the Suns would have wanted them to blow the whistle and give him another free throw? I think so. That should have been a lane violation, and that would have changed things. And they missed another one of those where in Game 4 where Giannis doesn't get out of bounds to inbound it, which is another one of those absolutely no-brainer calls that the referees completely missed. That at least was a 6-point lead with 15 seconds to go. That game was pretty much over, so I don't mind that as much. But that one, it was interesting. The Suns of all people would have said, no, you got to call that on Ayton and give him another free throw. Maybe we'll get the rebound.
I feel
Coach,
like
you know what's really, every time this happened, I was really anxious about this, but he impressed me every time, is that the Bobby Portis defense this game, I never expected it to be good, but it always kind of was, and I really enjoyed that.
Wait, what was good?
I disagree. I think it's horrible.
The ref thing?
You don't think? I liked him this game. I liked him a lot.
Wait, who did you like?
Well,
Portis.
Bobby Portis.
Oh, Bobby
yeah.
Portis. Yeah. No, he's solid. He's solid. And by the way, more like good defense than they try to isolate on him. Like, he's just solid.
I feel like there's too many. There was like, I think, was it in the second quarter? He was just lost out there. Like, he completely just lost his guy for like a backdoor or something. Like, they miscommunicate on pick. Every time there's a miscommunication on pick and roll, it's usually Portis. He's in the game.
Without
like,
question.
it's really bad.
He can't defend the Spain pick and roll well at all.
Yeah, and
he just looks around.
I didn't say it was amazing.
Wild though how
just
much
said it wasn't as bad as I anticipated it would be.
Right. Hey, let me throw this out there. If anybody on stage is kind of done, doesn't want to talk anymore, I have more requests, but I can't bring anybody in because it's full, which is a new thing. Is Akil? Is this a new thing on Green Room? You can't.
This has been with the last update because they've been having like hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people on.
I see. You guys are trying to break it. Well, anyway, if anyone else is there, I have a couple who want to come in. If you don't want to talk anymore and you've been quiet for a while, just
Coach.
Drop out.
Hey, Coach.
Yeah.
Coach.
Hey, Coach.
Yes.
You go ahead. Well, Coach, I had a question. Just something I noticed, like in the last couple games, I thought it's weird how Chris Middleton is going out of his way to get Jae Crowder switched onto him. And I thought Jae Crowder was a good defender, but he's getting smoked in these every time he gets him on him.
Oh, even Mikal Bridges.
And
Mikal Bridges
let me
is
take
being
care
killed
of
by Chris Middleton.
Hold that thought for 1 second. Jason Kelly out there on YouTube, thank you so much for the super chat. No asterisks in this championship. I was wrong. That's interesting. We'll put a pin on that discussion about if there's an asterisk or not. But the Jae Crowder thing he's kind of annoying to watch for me now because he fouls on every play. And it's only a question of whether or not the refs want to call it on him, right? That's what it feels like. Kind of like Tucker. Tucker, man, he takes a foul, which they had to take, and they should have taken, and he, has a conniption that they called it. He is so out of his mind on some of these things. It's like, what is going on? And Crowder tends to have this a similar emotional, roller coaster for him. Crowder is supposed to be a good defender, but he's PJ, so physical that
I agree.
If I were Monty Williams, I'm nervous when he's on that island because you just feel like they're gonna call a foul on him, and that's really tough.
Can I ask, why do you think the league never is over?
What the league's never what? Oh, what was the rest of that question? Why is the league never? Oh well.
Hey, Coach.
I was wondering. I know Giannis had a great game, and I know he had a positive plus minus in the fourth quarter, but we just completely glossed over how he missed those 3 late free throws.
Oh, well,
that's what you're going to get with Giannis.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, that was what was exciting about the game was we finally got some clutch free throws from him, right? Let's finally get to see how he's going to do in the situation because he's kind of avoided that, right? I feel like in the finals so far, maybe even the other series, he doesn't want the ball.
He does that. He does not even that. If he drives and is late in the fourth, instead of just going up and trying to finish it,
right?
He'll pass out of it.
He did it twice, in the last game. So I agree, and I was looking for some redemption from him, and they were close. The first one I think was in and out, but they were also kind of like the choky kind of in and outs where you're like, okay, he kind of because the form looked fine. As fine as he's going to make it look. But yeah, no. Listen, here's my problem with giving people MVPs when you know they're not going to get the play call for them when they need him down the stretch, the last possession. Shaq was like that, by the way. They wouldn't call it for him because they knew they'd just foul him and he wouldn't make those free throws. So how could he be the MVP? That's always been a big problem of mine, and it's probably what's been eating at me most about Giannis when I criticize his game. And by the way, listen, the YouTube channel, I don't know if I have any more Bucks fans left. They might have all unsubscribed at this point.
Did he score double digits in the? Okay.
What?
All right. Let's shit on Giannis. I don't understand. I don't understand this. It's literally just the last 2 minutes. The first 43 minutes, there's literally no one on the court who even stands close to him. And in some games, even in the last 2 minutes, he owns it.
I mean, listen, you can't take away from what Middleton and Holiday did in the second and third quarters. That was above and beyond anything that Giannis was doing.
Yeah, but Aiden and Booker were out in that, and that was in those possessions. They were doing a lot of what's his name? Brook Lopez screen and rolls, and also they do that thing where they did where they set a pin down for they said Brook sets a pin down for what's his name?
Middleton.
Chris Middleton. Yeah, and then it goes into the pick and roll, and the Suns just couldn't defend that at all. I think that run that they went on was more of a function of the Suns not having the right lineup on the floor, and a little less about just the Bucks doing a lot of shit right.
Well, I will say this because I thought, it's clearly when Ayton is out and they were feasting, they're going to the basket a lot and getting the basket, and that happened in the very beginning. But then Ayton comes in, with 9 minutes to go in the second quarter, and that run continues for the Bucks. Actually, you're right. Ayton settles that down in the second quarter. That's really.
What were the minutes for Lopez during that stretch? Because I don't even remember him being on the floor. Maybe I'm crazy.
During the second and third quarters,
he played 29.
Lopez played, the beginning, the first 8 minutes of the second quarter, and then came out, and then he played the first 7 minutes or 8 minutes of the third. So Lopez was a big part of that. And by the way, Lopez got crunch time minutes in the fourth, which I thought was I had forgotten that he played many minutes in the fourth. It felt like to me before Game 5 he hadn't been in a lot in the fourth, but it turns out no. I went and checked. He played fourth quarter minutes in I think 3 of the 4 games before this. So that wasn't necessarily new, but usually they go to that Giannis at center lineup and bench him.
I remember they said that.
For me, one big thing I feel like people, I don't know if you brought it up or not yet, but one thing is how much Giannis was actually how much of it that fourth quarter was him being a screener. It was a lot of Giannis setting screens hard, and that was creating a lot of gravity in and of itself. And then how much CP3 for as sort of a defender as he is was just getting headhunted all that game last time. They were going after him and they were attacking him on switch. So CBC was getting headhunted quite a bit.
Yeah. I gotta have to watch that again and check, because I don't remember them completely isolating on CP3 a lot, but I guess they did. I'm not picturing that in my mind.
They got anything they wanted in the pick and roll.
Yeah, so I think the big part of the run they went on was they went with the biggest lineup they'd played the whole year. I'm pretty sure that I can't remember exactly who it was, but the 5 players that were on the court, they hadn't played
Jrue, Middleton, PJ Tucker, Giannis, Brook. That was the lineup.
Yeah.
It was someone else. I think there was someone else.
Portis was in there for a second, but then they took him out a minute later.
Yeah, it was the really big lineup against the smaller side.
It was Giannis, Chris Middleton, Brook Lopez,
Portis, Giannis,
Bobby Portis, and
PJ Tucker, I think.
Was it PJ? I feel like it was someone else.
So they but
it may have been PJ. Yeah.
Yeah, it was PJ. Chris was running point guard.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
By the way, if you guys are looking for a good resource for that kind of stuff for lineups, you got to go to popcornmachine.net. They have these wonderful game flows that you can see the game linearly, and then check whatever a lineup was in when and what the run was. It's really, I have to go to it every game, to do my breakdowns. So check it out if you can. Let's see here. Let's just talk about this, the asterisk thing, because Jason Kelly brings this up real quickly. Because he was wrong. He thought that there should have been an asterisk. I suppose there's a lot of reasons why. Maybe one of the reasons is because, well, I'm not sure. Why would there be an asterisk as much? Because obviously they're playing in front of fans, so that's not like the bubble.
So is it like leading up to this series?
Yeah, like maybe
an
all the
asterisk with
injuries.
the teams that they played.
Yeah, so the Suns, uniquely benefited from injuries in every single series, which is usually a little bit rare. But
it did happen for last year. Like no Kevin Durant in the bubble, no Kyrie Irving. Like there were a lot of injuries last year.
Dude, the '89 finals have a
not nearly as many as this year.
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, yeah. I was saying in the 2015 finals, Mike Conley got hurt, Pat Bev got hurt.
That's the only one we can
Beverly. Come on, man.
Yeah, Beverly is like Connaughton, right? We could say not Connaughton. Beverly and DiVincenzo are kind of like that's whatever. But remember, the Bucks had
not even
Giannis injury.
They're like Avery Bradley.
But I guess
we're talking about star player injuries.
1989, Scottie Pippen gets hurt. The Pistons played the Bulls.
Man had a migraine.
Migraine was 90, I think, not 89, right?
I tell you what. Coach,
but in that last game,
this is something that
Jordan shot back from the line and turned over the ball a bunch of times.
No Jordan slander allowed.
Is that?
I'm just saying.
Jrue said that the reason that they don't get injured as much on the Bucks is because of how sparingly God plays them throughout the year. He talks about the management of the health of the players on the Bucks being so different from all the other teams that he's played on.
Yeah, staying healthy is all part of it. Like I don't think there's any asterisks just because your team stayed healthier than everyone else.
Yeah, I think it pays dividends how sparingly they play their players during the regular season, and God cups a lot of shit for this, as he probably should have in some cases.
Eli, can you mute until you talk, because we're getting some feedback on you, Eli.
Oh, I'm sorry.
The only teams that you could make that argument. I mean, it's really players, right? Because LeBron, his injury was a freak accident. Anthony Davis, you can relate that to him having a quick turnaround with the bubble. Same with Jamal Murray. That too. That too. Same with Jamal Murray, quick turnaround, his ACL. Kawhi, I don't know. That was a weird step he took. He has had injuries too.
Because I think he got cut by something happened.
He just took a step.
It was non-contact.
Yeah, he literally just took a step with his right foot, and
ACL injuries
that was bound to happen.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's iffy because I feel like there has been a lot of free accidents with Kyrie too. So Kyrie, LeBron, and
Let me just jump in here real quickly. Lobato, thank you much for the super chats. 2 of them. He's upset with the terrible mics and etiquette on the callers. I think we're doing pretty well considering how many people we have in here, so I'm not worried too much. And by the way, everyone to me sounds pretty good. And then Anthony Miro, welcome to the membership. Thank you so much for that. All right, well, let's see. We're going to get the show is getting closer to the end than it is in the beginning. So what do we want to let's kind of shift a little bit to game 6 and what we should expect, because to me it almost feels like the Suns are broken. I thought they were broken after game 4, right? They crapped the bed.
Hey, coach.
Yes.
If you're the Suns, what defensive adjustments would you make to guard Chris Middleton? Because Mikal Bridges and Jae Crowder, them guarding Chris Middleton, they just get killed. Off of ISOs, off pick and roll.
Is Bridges getting killed, or is it just Crowder? Because Bridges has done. I feel like when Middleton sees Bridges, I don't want to say they're clones of each other, but they're both long, and it's just which guy is better? It's like when you're outside on the park, it's I'm a score on you.
Right.
That's what it kind of looks like.
Middleton killing the drop coverage.
In my mind's eye, I have to go through it again. They were having success doubling him on some of those pick and rolls, and they should probably try that again, especially depending on who's going to set the screen for him. If it's Lopez, I would have no problem blasting him on those and getting it out of his hands. They should try that. I feel like he had a turnover on one of those, right? Does anyone remember that as well?
He had 5 turnovers inside.
Yeah, and so that's a good way to do it, because if you're going to drop coverage on him like that and just be okay, I'm going to put a hand up and let him take a long 2 or whatever, Yeah, it's not a great recipe. You're gonna get hurt a lot of the time. Now remember, Middleton is streaky, and so they're probably gonna rely on that as well. But at some point, when you're playing that in that pickup game in the park and it's a tie game,
he's making tough shots, man.
You can't give him anything. I did this thing. Yeah, go ahead.
I think the Suns need to change up their pick and roll coverage. Maybe drop one possession, then trap. Then I don't know, maybe switch it. Can't keep giving him the same look. If you trap him on the pick and roll 3 straight times, he's gonna figure it out.
Yeah.
If you drop, he's gonna make
Well, didn't they hard hedge on one of them? They almost had him at the half court at one of those possessions. I don't know why they didn't keep doing that because it kind of worked.
Yeah, I know.
I mean, hedging is kind of hard because you can kind of reset the play.
He didn't score on. He got one on Bridges on a backdoor cut where Bridges completely fell asleep, and I might point it out, I might not. I don't know what he was. He got on the high side thinking it was going to be a screen by Holiday, but the ball was in the post, and Giannis made a beautiful pass to Middleton for a layup. Other than that, as far as I'm looking on Synergy right now, Middleton did not score on Bridges at all. It was CP3 and Crowder and different mismatches.
Yeah.
So that's the thing. And by the way, this is Crowder again. He ISO'd on Crowder. That was the magic, right? No. The more Middleton magic, I think that was on Crowder. Oh, no, you know what? It wasn't. It was, who did the more, what I'm talking about? That's a great Breen call. That was actually on Bridges. No, it was on Bridges.
I think he hit one. Didn't he? He hit one tough fade.
He got a layup, but no.
Baseline.
The biggest shot of the game, in my opinion, would have been the 2 minutes and 25 seconds left. The step back 3 that puts them up by 8. That was the cushion they needed, and that was a crazy shot. The only thing that Bridges didn't do on this, though, as he's on the left wing and he steps back, is he doesn't put his hand up, and that's a clean swish. I guess he didn't want to foul, and didn't want, maybe by putting the hand up, it would have carried him more into the body. It would have fouled him. But they didn't put a hand up, and so that was the big one. That was on Bridges. Not too much more you could do, but geez, I look at that shot, and I'm more impressed with that shot than I am the Giannis alley-oop, right?
Yeah, and it's at the point where Bridges is already going. He's already warm. He's hot, so. Those type of shots, I feel like they have a higher percentage of going in. It doesn't matter who's in front of him.
Right, I guess. I mean, geez, yeah.
But Coach, I have a real quick question. Yeah. At the end of Game 4, when Chris Paul turned it over, that whole, I think it was probably the last 5 minutes. Did you not get flashbacks of Game 4 versus OKC when he was on the Clippers, or is that just me? Where he was just because the way he fell down, there was no he just fell down with the ball.
Well,
and he just lost
it. Is it Game 4 or Game 5 when he shoots a 3/4 court shot and he thought they were going to foul?
It's one of them. It's either Game 4 or Game 5.
Yeah, and then
I think.
Right, because Russ blocks it or something, and then they come right down, and then they get a layup or something like that. Yeah. Without question, there are shades of that, and we saw this in Memphis as well, one of those series, but not sustained, consistent across every one of these games. He's really looking that way. I know he had some moments in games 1 and 2 as well, but I don't know. It is definitely like that, but this for me it seems more and different for some reason. But I recognize
Coach,
that there's a pattern here in his career.
You made a video on Chris Paul choking in that Game 5 against OKC 7 years ago.
So it was Game 5, right? That's why I was thinking it wasn't Game 4. It was Game 5.
think it was. Part 2 too.
Yeah. And by the way, I remember that
fouled Westbrook on a 3 or something.
Yeah, I can name drop. Can I name drop? Is it okay? I remember I did that video, and I was in Chicago for the combine, and Sam Hinkie happened to run by, and he's like, he had seen that video. He's like, yeah, Chris Paul wasn't just throwing the ball up as a pass; he was shooting that because he had been doing that all year long, where they were going to foul DeAndre Jordan, and he just figures he's going to shoot it, and maybe they'll give him the shot as well. Remember how he was doing that all year long? No, so they would hack a DeAndre Jordan, and he figured, I'm going to be cute and just throw up a 3/4 length shot. Maybe if it goes in, maybe.
I remember.
But they wouldn't have counted it. It never would have counted. And then he does it, and they don't foul DeAndre Jordan, and now it's a shot, and they get blocked. Whatever. Anyway, So yeah, so I remember that one very specifically, and it is like that. It's like inexplicable. How can you play such a beautiful game, so smart, high basketball IQ for so long in so many different, even in other playoff games, but then you get here and it completely goes away for these huge stretches. It's this is what we learn, right? This is when you have to play the games because the effect of the pressure can affect people in ways you wouldn't imagine. So yeah. So anyway, so what are we thinking? Who's going to win this game? Game 6.
I think the Bucks.
Milwaukee
Bucks
in 6.
All playoff.
Someone is Bucks in 6. What's this is a Brandon Jennings thing that I'm totally forgetting.
Yes. Yeah, I think so.
What is it? Someone tell me the context.
It's the first round.
Was it like
it
the
was
Chris
when
Middleton
the Heatles were around. And
yeah, it was the first round. They're 8 seed, and they played them, and I think it was
we're gonna win.
TNT. Yeah, and they're like, how many games? And he was like, Bucks in 6.
The Vine, that's hilarious. Okay, so that was like what? Was that the first Heatles team, 2010?
Yeah, that was the Bucks team that had Monte Ellis on it.
It's like 2013 season, right?
Oh, it was 2013.
It was
later.
the second championship.
Okay, that's hilarious. Okay, Bucks in 6. All right, now I get it. Thank you. That's why I rely on you guys. You got to keep me up on the memes. All right, so everyone thinks the Bucks. Courtside. Well, that was my thing about the Bucks is that it looked like the Suns' mental state was so fragile after Game 4 that I felt like this is probably they're not going to recover. Almost in that sense of like remember when the Spurs lose to the Heat on that Ray Allen shot, and then they lose Game 7. Like these kind of were like it was like broken. I don't know how you overcome that. But so then you see them though open the huge lead. You're like, oh, they've gotten over it. It's not going to bother them at all. So to go through back-to-back, moments like that, where now Game 5 was just like a torture chamber for them, and then they lose. I don't think that they're going to come. They're going to come back from that either. It seems like it's a done deal. Anybody want to argue the Suns can win?
I just don't.
I'm hoping.
It's not out of the realm of possibilities.
The Bucks would have to miss.
The game was close.
I feel like if the Suns,
one of them.
If the Suns win the next game, they got a good chance in 7. Like I would give it them.
Right. You can never bet against the home team in a Game 7, as far as I know. They win 88% of the time, whatever that is. So it's certainly not a hot take to say that either. Can the Suns win on the road? I mean, I don't know. That's an interesting question, especially now that they're fans. Right. This is not the bubble stuff where there's going to be a real impact. And I think it's all clear to us now, right, that that's a severe impact, right, compared to last year and this year. Having a hostile crowd can make guys not play as well.
Mm-hmm. Usually, Game 5 decides the series, correct?
Like that's 82% of the time. I think.
It's only 82.
Whoever wins Game 5. It might be different for the finals.
Okay.
But I think in regular series, it's in a series tied 2-2. Game 5 decides.
Yeah, for sure.
Middleton and Jrue always seem more comfortable at home anyways. I was really surprised Jrue was able to do what he did in Phoenix.
Right.
I didn't think
same with CP3, by the way. CP3's numbers his home and away splits in the series are pretty stark.
Yeah,
so,
Pfizer for him is loud.
Yeah.
So I want to go back to Middleton hunting Crowder. I think he has a lot of trouble with Bridges' length, despite what that step back he hit late indicates. And I think the Suns just concede that Crowder switch really easily, and I just don't think Crowder bothers him as much as Bridges. So, I mean, if he tries to get the switch on Chris Paul, he probably thinks there's going to be more resistance from the Suns to concede the switch. So, but they switch like it's nothing with Crowder. So.
Yeah, I hear you. Yeah, I mean, this is interesting because, now that the switching is so prevalent and there's no attempt to even fight across and keep the right matchups that you want, it's weird because it's like, what are you supposed to do then? Monty Williams is going to look at that and say, well, all right, he stayed in front of him. He hit a mid-range, whatever. But you're right. There's definitely a different effect when Bridges is on him. And so you would think, okay, let's see if we can keep him on him more. That might be the next iteration of defense. If what I'm trying to invent, by the way,
I wonder if the fouling on jump shot rules they're thinking of, right? The NBA is thinking of changing the Harden, Trae Young fouls where they just put their chest into. I feel like part of the reason players don't fight over screens is because they're worried once they do, they're just going to get the offensive player is just going to jump right into them, draw the jump shot foul.
Yeah.
I wonder if
that's a great call too. Yeah, no, that's a problem. Now, sometimes they don't get a call for the shooting foul, but it's a foul nonetheless, which you only have 6 of those. So that's another great point. I'm trying to embed a new defense, and the conceit of it is that you play behind the guy. Okay, so it's a zone, but you're playing behind the guy. You can't set a ball screen on a guy if you're directly behind him. You really can't shoot a 3 if the guy's breathing on your neck like that either. So you're essentially eliminating of pick and rolls and 3s, right? And you're forcing the whole offense to go down toward the baseline where you have an extra defender. I'm working on it. I'm trying on the court maybe this week with some pros to run it. But yes, we need to kind of start to reimagine how we do this. Now, what I'm describing might end up just being a pick and roll defense only, where as the screen is coming, you jump behind the guy. We've seen them do this with Harden, in the playoffs, a couple of years ago. Actually, the Bucks did it in the regular season. And
I remember the Warriors.
The Jazz.
Isn't this basically drop coverage without screen navigation?
That's why it's not so radical. Even though I describe in the beginning, people think I'm absolutely insane. But you can see this alignment every other play in the NBA because of drop. Now the guy's behind him and he's chasing. You got a guy in front who's containing, which would be an all-time. He's always there. There's 2 guys in tandem in the zone in the lane who are containing and then playing the weak side block. So I think that might end up being a way, at least maybe for a few possessions a game or something to change it up. Or that's what you do and you jump into it for pick and rolls only. This might be the best way to do it because otherwise, you're stuck in switches, you're stuck out of position, and that way you get the other weak side guys in the proper zone areas right away, and maybe you eliminate some miscommunications and stuff like that. So. Well, listen, let's wrap this up in the last couple minutes. I got to get going because it's been way over an hour, and I got to take a walk with the wife, and it's a Sunday afternoon. I got to finish this darn video. Any other things we want to take care of before we go?
Coach, I had a question. What separates a really good player from an NBA player, someone like LiAngelo Ball? Why wouldn't he be in the NBA?
Yeah, it's an interesting question. I think that
often IQ.
Because I would say sometimes what separates the D1 players is how aggressive they are going for the ball, just being aggressive physically tends to separate a good high school player why he doesn't get to the D1 level. Let's say if he had good physical attributes, but as far as the NBA goes, what separates them? Wait, so what was the question? What separates NBA players from?
Well, I guess the best college players from an NBA, NBA players.
So here's the thing: the NBA is littered with players who have a lot of ability, who would be great, who just simply are not on the right team, right? And so you'll see guys go through, and after 3 or 4 years, they never get a good opportunity, and they fizzle out, and they go to play overseas or whatever. So that has to be acknowledged as part of it, because when you get to the NBA, you are that good anyway. So it's way back in the day, we look at Steve Kerr. Steve Kerr couldn't make a team, couldn't get on the court. In Cleveland, and then all of a sudden his agent finds a good spot for him in Chicago. They're running the triangle offense. Michael Jordan comes back, and now he's winning titles. Now look where he is. He probably wouldn't be where he is now if he hadn't gone to Chicago and won those titles and made a name for himself as a player. Steve Alford is a guy who is similar in size and certainly had probably more individual skills than Steve Kerr did. And he was on a really great team in Dallas, never got off the bench, and then fizzled out after 3 or 4 years, right? Now, he ended up doing fine. He got was the UCLA head coach, among others. I think that's an interesting, indication. And I'm sure I can, if I think about it right now, over the last 5 years, we can find other examples of that. But, that is part of it. But like Cameron Payne is another good example. He was a guy who was out of the league, couldn't get on the court, couldn't play when he did. And now all of a sudden, look how good he is. Did he have those skills 4 years ago and then finally got a good opportunity here on a good team? Or did he maybe build up those skills and learn how to shoot floaters better, learn how to control his speed and hezzies better? Probably a mixture of both. But I just feel like, Spencer Dinwiddie couldn't get on the court for Detroit, and he finally gets a good opportunity in Brooklyn, and look what he does. He's not an all-star, but he's, a legitimate starter in the league. And all
blame Stan Van Gundy.
Right.
Blame Stan Van Gundy.
Blame
the Pistons management.
And Nickeil Alexander-Walker is going to break out next season because Stan Van Gundy's gone.
What's so funny? I don't know about that for sure because I'm not quite sold on his game. But I can tell you right now, having worked with Stan, I was a basketball manager at Wisconsin when Stan was the assistant coach there for 2 years. I could have told you, and I did, I think, on a show, there's no question he would not have liked Walker Alexander's game, without question.
I don't think he likes young guys in general.
Well, maybe, but Walker Alexander is the kind of guy who like shoots it before he catches it. And I just knew right away that was not going to go over well with Stan. And by the way, we saw this with Nate McMillan. He acknowledged, he's like, you know what, I have to change the way I communicate because I would have probably been so negative on these guys and it just destroyed them in the past the way I used to coach. And I'm glad he didn't really make this differentiation, but the key here is he might have said, well, today's young guys can't handle that, so I had to change. He didn't say that, thank goodness, because that's not the point. I think what he's learning is it's better to do what he's doing now, and it would have been better then had he done it now the way he did it, the way he's doing it now. That's what I think we're finally discovering, is that it's not necessarily that the players are softer now or you have to talk to them different ways. It's that we realize that there are just simply more optimal ways to communicate, and that is what these coaches from my age or older are really kind of embracing, which is great. And we're going to see better play out of all these guys, especially the bench players.
Yeah, Stan's definitely an old school coach, screaming at Andre Drummond, telling him to run. And
will LiAngelo Ball make the NBA though?
Oh, it's funny because there are moments I've seen like in the Australian stuff where he looks like legit, and the NBA is so open now, the pace is fast, and you get a lot of opportunities in transition where it's like, he could kind of do some things. I don't know. Maybe. What's his story? They talked about him getting a tryout or anything, going to summer league.
He's working out with the Hornets.
Okay. I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, he made it, right? He wasn't on a team for a month?
He was in like Detroit.
He played on like the Pistons and then he got cut.
He was with OKC Blue for like a month.
Okay.
But he never got to play because of COVID. And then Troy Weaver,
wasn't he draft the league for like 4 years?
Yeah. Don't be surprised.
Training camp deal.
Don't be surprised. He's got skills. He's got a big body. The league is going smaller. And by the way, is that you, Martin? Martin, can you mute?
Oh, sorry.
Pro tip: don't wash the dishes while you're on green room. LiAngelo it has skills, so I wouldn't be surprised if he gets a shot. And like there, another prime example, he's got enough skills where he could have an impact if he gets the right situation and they give him an opportunity. I feel like we used to see it more often where some random guy off the bench would come in and like just light it up. I mean, Tony Delk did it once, right, for 50 points. And that's, it's such a rare example, but I think it still stands where, here's a guy who couldn't score 12 points a game, has enough skill where once they get an opportunity like that and they get hot, they can contribute in a meaningful way consistently across more games. So that's, I think, a real big issue there in the NBA. And sometimes it's just, you're not lucky. You don't get on the right team. You don't have the right coach. And that's, you got to kind of make do with what you have, and hopefully get a chance. But I'm telling you, the league is littered with hundreds of players and thousands of players throughout the years who just never got the chance, who could have probably been really, really good.
You know what I just found out about Stan Van Gundy? He was almost hired by the Warriors after they fired Mark Jackson in I think 2014.
Oh, is that right?
Oh, yeah.
Steve Kerr almost accepted a Knicks job, I think, after they fired Phil Jackson, and then he declined it. But Stan Van Gundy was the Warriors' second choice. Imagine how much worse those teams would have been. He would have yelled at Steph every time he took a 30-footer.
Not fire Phil Jackson. Phil Jackson was going to hire him.
Oh, okay, yeah. Phil Jackson was gonna hire Steve Kerr,
without
and then
question.
Steve Kerr declined it.
Yeah, that was. By the way, that decision ends up being the best decision of anyone's life, without question, because he was. I think Kerr was probably close to taking it. That the Warriors job, in my memory, opened up kind of a little bit last minute kind of a thing. Although they might have been whispering to him because I think he had a relationship with Lacob anyway, so they might have already for maybe weeks before.
Yeah, because Lacob hated Mark Jackson. He disliked Mark Jackson, right?
I mean, it just wasn't a good fit, regardless of whether you like Jackson's coaching or not. You know what I mean? Community wise and where they were and his feelings about a lot of things, even off the court. But it was a mess. We probably only heard 50% of what happened during those seasons. You know what I mean? We remember the guy was like taping him and privately, one of the assistant coaches, and then the scout anything. It was a nightmare. Certainly, it's what not to do when the head coach of the team. I think Jackson was like flying down to LA to do sermons for his congregation instead of being there for practice. I don't know. Anyway. All right, well, listen, we got to wrap this up because it's a Sunday. You guys, let's get out of the house. Let's enjoy the day a little bit, but be safe and wear a mask if you're in a place where they have a lot of COVID cases like in LA. But thank you guys for all being here. This is awesome. I'm so happy to have YouTube and Green Room at the same time. Follow me on Green Room if you haven't already. Follow me on YouTube if you're on the Green Room and don't follow me on YouTube. And don't forget, sports fans, at B-Ball Breakdown, we're not a channel, we're a conversation. You in? Are you guys in?
Thanks, Coach.
Always.
I'm in.
Thanks, Coach.
Awesome.
Thanks, Coach. I'm going to bed.
Thank you.
Oh, wow. All right. Yay. And then YouTube gets some bonus content while I got to go over here and end the stream. Anyway, awesome stuff. Thank you guys for being here. Woo, bonus YouTube. But great stuff. Stay tuned. I'm gonna try and get this video done ASAP for Game 5 if I can. If not, maybe I'll get it out for tomorrow because it's Sunday. But promise you'll watch it anyway. Anyway, thank you guys so much. Awesome stuff. I'm in. You're in. We're all in. And stay tuned.